with you in regard. I have information that you can take with you on how to reach him and how to fill out some of the paperwork, including downloading some of the membership forms. Stanley's phone number, I'll just give it to you, is 707-291-6060. It's on the form back there. Chapter registrar is Harry Stover, and his number is 707-486-4681. And to reiterate how I had joined the SAR is that my mother was in the DAR, my uncle was in the SAR. So I thought, well, this must be easy. Not so. Now, when I joined the chapter down in Alameda, I was one of 3 men coming at the same time. We were all working, so we went in as a team. We had a very capable registrar, but as a team, we say, okay, what luck are you having getting your grandparents' death certificate? What luck are you having getting a military record? And having another set of eyes of a newbie helped us all get to the same place, because then we could say, okay, now we can work together. And we were all sworn in at the same time. And the registrar felt this was a very good way to work as a team to get to the next place. How many people in the room have seen the movie The Patriot, starring Mel Gibson and Heath Ledger? That's my family revolution. My ancestors were all in North and South Carolina. They fought mostly as guerrilla fighters because the British under General Cornwallis occupied North and South Carolina and also Virginia for several years during the Revolution. And the people, whether they were active fighters or people furnishing help to the American Army, had to go underground, literally. So my ancestor had a very colorful background. He was known in our family as Devil John Bethea. And the story was that during the Revolution, the British soldiers and some Tories who were loyalists to the British Crown went to his mother and father's home, and they said, "Where are your sons fighting with General Francis Marion the Swamp Fox?" And the parents wouldn't tell. So the British soldiers tortured his parents. And the son, John, came to the home and said, "Who did this?" They said it was the local British soldiers. And he said, "I'm going after them." And his father said, "Don't make any more trouble." And the mother said, "Yes, go get them." So John and some other patriots went out and found the redcoats in the woods. It wasn't hard with the redcoat in the swamps. John shot one of the British soldiers, dragged him off his horse, broke his legs, and hanged him with the bridle from his horse at the nearest tree. The British soldiers were so horrified, they said, "This man is a devil," hence his nickname, Devil John. This is a wonderful story, but it was written down about 90 years after the event. What's the actual proof that he was in the service? So how I joined the SAR was he had patriotic service. What I did find later on, a relative went to the South Carolina archives, found a roster of some 300 men who served under Francis Marion, and my ancestor was there. So I finally had actual documentation about his service. The information I'm talking about is in the back of the room, and you can see it after the meeting in regards to how I found the information. What I found anytime that I went to any type of archive, museum, tourist center, whatever, I would say, "I'm here, I'm doing research on my relatives in the American Revolution or Civil War, whatever." And I would leave my business card. I can't tell you how many times someone has said, "Mr. Edwards, you left me your card, and I'm a distant cousin. Here's the documentation that you need." So when you're doing your research, be sure that you tell people why you're doing the research and how whatever research center you're using, they can reach you out of California, because that's very important. And so I was able to basically add on to my ancestor service because of the new documents that came forward. The other thing I want to emphasize is that how many people in this room know that we have the only Revolutionary War veteran in California buried 18 miles from here? His name was Captain William Smith. You say, oh great, guy named Smith served the Revolution and he died in California. This sounds like it's something that could be far-fetched. Actually, at age 11, he was a cabin boy on his father's ship, Captain William Smith Sr., and he served in the Virginia Navy, which was set up by, at that time, Governor Thomas Jefferson of Virginia. Virginia had its own Navy, and the adversary was none other than Benedict Arnold, who was the American patriot turned traitor. there was such fierce fighting between the British Navy and the Virginia Navy that General Cornwallis came up from North Carolina to Yorktown to say, okay, we've got to put an end to this. Unfortunately, it was the end of Cornwallis. So it turns out that yes, William Smith at age 11 and as a teenager served with his father in the Navy, Virginia Navy. He had a very colorful life. He signed on with a Boston shipping company and traveled around the world 8 times. He traveled up and down the California coast starting in 1799. He put his ship in at Bodega Bay, what was then called Yerba Buena, which we know is San Francisco, and in Santa Barbara. In 1816, when he was in Santa Barbara, the local Spanish authorities wanted to seize his ship, so they accused him of various illegal acts. His ship was seized, and 2 of his 4 sailors never came home. So those were some of the very first American settlers that ended up in California because of the fact that his ship was seized. He was able to finally, after these multiple voyages going to Alaska, Hawaii, China, Chile, traveling around the world, and coming back to Boston, he came home to find that his long-suffering wife had died. He had no children. So he ended up coming back out to California, and in his 70s, ended up here in the town of Sonoma. And we'd ask, why would a sea captain go to the town of Sonoma? In 1846, Sonoma was a gathering place for the Mexicans, for the Americans and the Europeans, knowing that there was a war coming between the United States and Mexico. The Americans in the summer of 1846 took control with the Bear Flag Revolt. Captain William Smith died in May of 1846. He died at the home of General Vallejo's brother-in-law, Jacob Lease. Lease wrote a letter to the American consulate, Thomas Larkin in Monterey, said, I have an American citizen who died in my home. These are the circumstances. And he said, I buried him on the north side of the Sonoma Mountain in a very notable place. I have a copy of the letter in the back here. So through that, both the DAR and the SAR chapters were able to track down where he was buried, where he died in California, the service that he had, and his very colorful life sailing up and down the coast of California and around the world. So I wanted to thank both the SAR and the DAR chapters for basically, after many years, bringing forth this wonderful story. And I have information about his story in the back. So basically, just to reiterate, when you're doing this, work with others, make it a family affair, don't give up. And there's always new information coming forth. And a lot of the information that the SAR uses is what the DAR has already done for us. So we're very, very grateful to the work that they've done over the years. I'm going to go ahead and stop here so we can have a Q&A at this point.
Okay, if you're online, you can use chat or unmute yourself and say something. I will also comment that the website will have the links and phone numbers and all of that on a document we'll post there the next day or so. This is a question, I suppose, Don, for both you and Florencia. If you in fact believe that the information on the Patriot is incorrect, okay, is there a format for submitting information on that?
Yes. Because what you want to have is in anything you're doing for family research to try to be as accurate as possible. And I know we've all had situations where it's a great story, but is it a fact or is it a fib? And then you have to decide what to do with that.
I think I already answered that question. There is generally through the application process is how you would do it. If you're not planning to apply, I think there's a different process, but you know, if you're applying and you say, well, wait a minute, this is what I've got on my ancestry. This is what you've got on your database. But we were just dealing with this issue with, again, a woman whose application I'm working on. And we're saying, well, you know, where did you get this information? Because this has already been approved by the DAR. We put this in, you don't have to worry about it. If you want to change the record, you're going to have to provide a letter saying, okay, this is what I feel is inaccurate. And here is my proof that what I have is accurate. So you're going to have to do that. And she decided she didn't want to be bothered. So,
Okay.
George, right behind you.
Oh, we have a question back here.
Once I finish all of my, my sister and I do all of the research for the DAR and complete all of the forms. Do my brothers then have to like copy ours, or does the DAR work with the SAR?
Separate process. Yes, up to a point, yes.
I will also point out that one problem that's emerged in all of the heritage associations is that some of the older applications that were accepted contain links that are no longer accepted. Okay, I have one in my family trying to trace back to Jamestown, where it was always known who Mary's father was until someone looked seriously and said, you know, there's not a single document that connects Mary and that person as her father. And that was the critical link. So my understanding is nobody got thrown off the register, but you can't use that link theoretically any longer as the register. Okay, well, thank you, everybody. Don will be available in the back if you're interested in seeing more of his documentation. And next month, we'll be doing oral history. Thank you all.